How's it going, everyone? Ryan Schremp here with ToplessRobot.com. Just thanking you for listening to this podcast, and I wanted to let you know that we're building a podcast network. We currently have 3 podcasts: Animated Opinions, Cosmic Love, and Topless Robot Podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please check out our other podcasts. And if you're enjoying these podcasts, it would mean a lot to us if you look us up on iTunes and leave a review. That way other people can find our podcasts. Or share it with your best friend. Nothing's better than sharing podcasts that are awesome with people who are awesome. So, thanks for listening, and here's the episode.
ToplessRobot.com presents...
You're listening to Animated Opinions, the podcast world's premier stop for vor. Ooh, that was a tongue twister. Vor. I'm Melanie.
What the fuck?
That's Emily. Today, we're going to talk about the voriest animated kids movie, Monster House.
Oh, God, and it somehow didn't involve Griffin McElroy.
It did not. Griffin McElroy, move over. We're better at vor than you are.
Monster House is better at vor than you are.
Oh, that's
Hey, do you
true.
think Griffin McElroy listens to our podcast?
100%. Griffin McElroy is our number one fan.
Well, then he's the only one, and that's why he's number one.
Exactly.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Monster House.
Monster House.
Another Zemeckis joint.
But this is before we decided that Robert Zemeckis needed to be stopped. So we're going to go back in time a little bit, kids. Forget that Mars Needs Moms happened. Forget... What are the other ones? Forget motion capture is disgusting for a second.
Oh, forget the Polar Express. Please, just forget it.
Fuck the Polar Express. So forget ugly motion capture. And we're going to talk a little bit about the $75 million movie Monster House. The motion capture was done mostly in Culver City, which is actually right down the road from me. You just go up over the mountains and you just hang out there. It was a critical and commercial success, grossing $140 million worldwide, and apparently, as of 2018, it's the only it's not a stop motion film. God damn it, I just want it to be. It's the only motion capture film to feature an entirely original story, and it's not based on any existing source material. The only things that I could find that people didn't like about it were that some people were complaining it was a Harry Potter ripoff, but honestly, those critics can just get absolutely fucked.
In what universe is this a Harry Potter ripoff other than it features 2 boys and 1 girl?
That's enough for people. You've got Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and people cannot see past that. This is 2006.
What? Come on! That was a very typical way to organize children, so that way boys see it, but you have a girl, so that way girls see it too.
Girls will see it, and you you've got to have your smart character, you've got to have your main character, and you've got to have your sidekick character. Now, a lot of films, so this movie, right off the bat, we're just going to say it takes place in the 80s, or it's supposed to take place in the 80s, and it gives you this 80s feel, way before it was hip to set things in the 80s. Here's fucking looking at you, all the Stephen King remakes, and what else is that? What's that show? Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So back in 2006, we were getting that sweet, sweet 80s nostalgia before it was cool. And, in your kids' films like The Goonies or Stranger Things of the 80s, you can have one girl.
Just one, and she has to be the cool one that everyone wants to kiss or whatever, but also she's smarter than literally every other character, including the adults.
Right. So what Monster House does is, instead of having a larger ensemble of children, it just kind of combines the tropes of the girl and the smart one into a singular character. Not the smart one. I would say the savvy one. I mean, Jenny is smart too, but she's also very, very savvy. She takes no shit. So she is the combination of your other 3 characters, like your other 3 character tropes, into one. So we've got our main character, we have our sidekick, and we have Jenny.
It's very...
who is the girl, the smart one, and the savvy one.
It's very convenient, but it also means that Jenny is a more interesting character than our main characters immediately.
Yeah. The writing on this is pretty solid, but we'll get into that. But what we need to address first is this was the first animated film for Kevin James because it predates Barnyard.
Wow. How much? Like by a couple of weeks?
I don't know.
They were both 2006.
Yeah, this was July.
Okay, yeah, Barnyard.
This was a summer release.
What? How do you release a horror film about a house in July?
Fuck you, I don't know. I didn't do this.
I don't know.
Summer break. You've got to capitalize on everybody being out of school.
Fair.
Okay. Monster House. We're going to talk a little bit about the director, Gil Kenan. He was 29 years old when he directed Monster House, and he was an artist with no prior track record in feature animation. I was looking for articles about him, and there was an article written in the LA Times that was apparently super frustrating because they make a big deal that this was Gil Kenan's first movie as an untested director, but it didn't offer any clues as to what was impressive about Kenan's work or what inspired Sony to entrust him with a $75 million film. We did a little bit of digging, so bear with us. This information is as correct as we can get it from multiple sources. Also Wikipedia.
By we, you mean you. I don't do digging. I watch Let's Plays of video games.
All right. Gil Kenan. He studied in... Oh, for fuck's sake. Gil Kenan studied at UCLA's film school, where he received an MFA in animation in 2002. His graduate thesis is a 10-minute stop-motion live-action film titled The Lark, and right off the bat, The Lark gives me major Svenkmeyer vibes. It's got that weird, creepy, gothic horror stop-motion-y feel that a lot of film students have learned to associate with this European filmmaker, Jan Svenkmeyer.
It's one half Svenkmeyer, one half Eraserhead.
Sorry, you said that, and I immediately went to respond with something, and from the bed, the cat just snored so damn loud.
Loud cat.
Oh, he's a disaster, just like me.
Aww.
Hold on.
Big dumb baby.
Adjusted. Okay. The first public screening of The Lark caught the attention of an assistant, Jordan Bielmeier, who worked at the Creative Artists Agency. Apparently what happened was, at the end of the screening, Bielmeier sought out Gil Kenan and was like, I feel something here. Do you have a copy of your work? So Gil Kenan gave him... He can't remember if it was a DVD or VHS, but this is 2002, so who really cares? And Bielmeier, they just spammed Hollywood with this short film, with this grad thesis. And they sent out hundreds and hundreds of copies of The Lark out into the world. And after a few interviews, Robert Zemeckis somehow ended up offering Kenan the director's chair for his first feature, which would be Monster House.
Aw, that's actually really sweet. Robert Zemeckis, you don't need to be stopped right now.
Yet. Kenan says, if this one assistant wouldn't have been in the audience, I would still be in my kitchen, making some, unspeakable film like The Lark.
I respect that. I actually very much respect that point of view of, somebody really helped me out. I'd be pretty terrible otherwise.
And he did go on to do other work. He directed City of Ember. He did Poltergeist after a break. And he's on a couple more projects that are coming up or have just wrapped. So at the time, Kenan speaks about a fascination of the relationship that humans have with their environments. And this apparently kind of stems from when their house was burglarized when he was younger. And about how Monster House allowed him to explore that in more detail. And he says, I just made the movie I knew that I had an opportunity that doesn't come along very often, and that I was just truly lucky to be at the right place at the right time for a bunch of factors that opened the door for me and gave me a chance to make a film that I really cared about. Monster House, right out of film school. And that for me was something that couldn't be questioned. I could... Sorry, I'm trying to skip all of his and ums and stutterings.
Aww.
And for me, that was something that kind of shouldn't be questioned. I should just do it and shut up and not squander the opportunity. And honestly, yeah, he's right. There's, if somebody were to call me right now and was just like, I saw your fucking thesis movie, first of all, I would say, who the fuck are you? Then I would apologize, and then I would let them get on with it. I assume that whoever calls me saying, I saw your thesis film, is calling me to tell me to get out of the film industry.
Yeah.
But if somebody was like, hey, we saw your thesis and we want you to direct this feature film, here's $100 million. I would just be like, well, I have to do this. I can't fail. I have to do this. And like that, I mean, I get where Keenan's coming from, and I appreciate the fact that, his senior thesis is good. It's good.
Yeah.
And somebody liked it. Somebody saw something in him. And this is an opportunity that, like he says, it doesn't come along. People are not just handed these opportunities. And he realizes that he was, and that he had this unique chance that not a lot of people get. And he was like, well, I'm making Monster House. Thanks, Mr. Zemeckis.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta just ride it out. Even if it's a nightmare, at least it's gonna be a nightmare.
It's so true.
I don't know, though. This one, unlike most of the movies we watched, did not have any major production issues. There's no, big lore about how fucked up behind the scenes were. There's no, we almost deleted the movie when no one was looking, or the whole budget got blown out. It seems like this went relatively according to plan.
Yeah, no, Monster House, as far as I can tell, and as far as, the internet allows us to see, I mean, I saw a couple people that worked on this that I could probably reach out to and ask, but I haven't because I'm a fucking disaster of a person. It seemed to just quietly happen. There were no huge production issues.
It's great to hear. You always like to know that people didn't have an awful time at work making a movie.
This movie didn't bankrupt a whole studio and cause Disney to shut down their whole studio.
Congratulations, Monster House. You're not terrible.
Congratulations, Gil Keenan. Your Hollywood feature debut didn't lose anyone their livelihoods.
Yes.
He's not going to ever listen to it.
You don't know that. What is Gil... Well, actually, Gil Keenan is very busy at the moment. You're right.
Yeah, no, it seems like he's very busy, so we're just going to... Gil Keenan, you don't have to listen to this. If you are... Just... oh, no. I mean, if you are,
hire Emily,
shout out
please.
to you. No, God, don't.
What? No, hire her.
I mean, yeah, do, but, shout out to you for making Monster House, because this, especially right out of school, God damn, I love Monster House.
Yeah, Monster House is good movie. Spoiler alert, y'all. Monster House is fun.
So yeah, spoiler alert, guys. We all really, really like Monster House.
All right, should we get into the plot? Can I get into the plot?
Get into the plot so that people can understand why we like Monster House, and we're not just saying this so that Gil Keenan becomes our fan.
The movie opens on a single tender leaf of autumn, breaking off of the branch of a tree and flying through a suburban neighborhood. I could actually do a play-by-play of this, but we'll fast forward. The parents of 12-year-old DJ Walters leave town for the weekend, leaving him in the care of his babysitter, Z. DJ has been spying on his elderly neighbor, Mr. Horace Nevercracker, who confiscates any item landing in his front yard and screaming at the children who leave them there. After DJ's best friend Chowder loses his basketball on Nevercracker's lawn, DJ is caught by Nevercracker while trying to retrieve it, but the enraged homeowner suffers a heart attack and is taken away by an ambulance. DJ watches an old man seemingly die on top of him. It's scarring. That night, DJ gets phone calls at his house with no one there and finds out that it's Mr. Nevercracker's house that's calling him. He eavesdrops on Z's boyfriend Bones, telling Z about losing his kite in Nevercracker's lawn when he was younger, and that supposedly Mr. Nevercracker ate his wife. Spooky.
Spooky movie.
Right off the bat, you'll see that these characters have a distinct style. They have molded hair. They have very modeled-in features. It's a good call. It keeps the film from getting too out of its budget and too out of its wheelhouse in design decisions on characters.
Yeah. It also lends it this almost stop-motion feel that I'm sure we're going to mention more than once.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely has that creepy, Selic-y stop-mo feel. The faces are not as expressive as we're used to in animated movies, but it's something that I can live with. And what the fuck is wrong with DJ's mom? Before we get into what's wrong with DJ's mom, I would just like everyone to know that the little girl on the tricycle grew up to be in Sharknado 3, so everybody could fuck right off.
The best part of the little girl on the tricycle is that she shows up at the end of the movie. Her outfit is the same, except they colored it green. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's Halloween.
It's very funny, though, because it's the same exact outfit, and they just, used the green paint bucket on it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this movie...
Sometimes you do what you gotta do.
This movie visually reminds me of The Adventures of Mark Twain. I don't know if you've seen that.
Ooh, yeah, that creepy stop-motion fucking thing.
It's all in the faces, but it's right there. Mm-hmm. You can see the inspiration.
The long faces with the not huge eyes and the not...
Yeah, this movie goes out of its way to not be cute, and I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not cute.
It's not cute, but you still maintain the appeal in the character design.
It's great, and it reminds me a lot of 80s kids movies, even in just the vibe of the animation and how it isn't super friendly or straightforward. Everything's got this kind of orange color tone on top of it. It's good.
Yeah.
It's coherent.
And real fun fact coming from recent knowledge, this was... Spielberg was an executive producer on this, I believe. And so it has the Amblin Entertainment logo attached to it. Amblin has recently been getting back into the market, and they're trying to be a force to be reckoned with. They are trying to make children's horror movies, and that's got soft quotes around it, kind of along the lines of what they used to do with E.T. And so the 80s feel is likely very intentional. And the house with the clock in its walls has definitely come out since, but that's an amblimation. I don't know if they're going Amblin or amblimation.
Oh,
but
that was an Amblin.
Yeah,
huh.
That's Amblin. That's what they're trying to do. And I don't know if they succeeded there, but they succeeded with Monster House.
They sure did. Down to the 80s, a stupid fat friend in Chowder, who I love because he's awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DJ, he's awful. I don't know why DJ is his friend, but DJ doesn't really have a lot of choices because his parents are super oppressive, and he just has this, DJ just has this sad Charlie Bucket face.
DJ looks...
No. It's James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah.
That's who I'm thinking of. If you look at DJ, you get, James and the Giant Peach vibes.
I can agree with that.
And... yeah, Nevercracker, so we've got the crazy old man, but why the fuck has nobody called the cops on this guy? Because nobody else has seen, the parents are absent because it's an 80s movie, but no one else has seen their child threatened with death and extreme fucking violence?
I was gonna say, in the real world, that little girl would have gone home, said, Mr. Nevercracker stole my tricycle, and he yelled at me, and some parent would have gone over there and said, hey, you have my kid's trike, also I will beat the shit out of you.
Well, in the 80s, they might have been the response definitely would be different, but nowadays, you wouldn't even be allowed outside without your parents being there, so the child wouldn't even be on a tricycle in the first place. But, Mom, Mr. Nevercracker took my tricycle and he also threatened me with bodily harm and even death. It'd be like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and then DJ has a moment where he walks back to his house after Nevercracker has his heart attack and he's like, I'm a murderer. And it's exactly like this really shitty Finding Nemo-esque knockoff Deep.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I hope that we watch someday.
No.
Because it's great. Because this one character is just like, I'm a murderer. And it just happens really randomly in this otherwise okay children's film. And you're like, whoa.
That's a little much. The babysitter is terrible. DJ says one thing to her and she immediately is like, go to your room. Get out of my face. I'm going to blast music and have my gross boyfriend over.
It's me as a babysitter. I was never a babysitter, first of all, so nobody call the authorities on me because I just never watched children. But, yeah, Elizabeth comes in and she's like, hey, buddy, like, how are you? We're gonna have so much fun. Like, clearly putting on an act. And DJ says they already left. Like, his parents are gone. And she immediately just goes, oh, great. And just, like, hair out of the bun, cardigan off. So she's, like, the picture-esque, like, 80s babysitter, like, definitely, you know, studies hard in school and doesn't get into any trouble and would wear a pearl necklace and probably would be a debutante if this was, like, a, you know, a different place. Because this takes place in, like, the Midwest.
Yeah.
But if this was the South, she would definitely be giving off those debutante vibes. And, like, the second he's like, yeah, my parents are gone, she's like, sweet, and goes full fucking goth.
Yeah. A basic, fuck this, I'm gonna be me.
Yeah. And, like, it's, we get the vibes that it's almost Halloween. Excuse me. That it's almost Halloween because they're talking about going out in their Halloween costumes and stuff. And honestly, it's hard for me to believe that DJ's parents ever let him go out on Halloween because they are dentists. And, like, it's always a plot point that the dentist parents don't want their kids to go trick-or-treating.
I think only DJ's dad is a dentist, and he's chill. Thus.
I don't know.
At any rate, we get to the next part of the film. Bones sees his kite dangling in the house's front door. He runs up to snatch it and is devoured by the house alive while trying to retrieve it. DJ meets up with Chowder and the two investigate the house, but they retreat when it comes alive and attacks them. The next morning, a girl named Jenny Bennett is selling Halloween candy, the morning of Halloween, door to door. Great plan. Mm-hmm. To which DJ and Chowder see her going up to the house. They rush out to save her before she gets eaten by it. Jenny calls police officers over to deal with the house, but they don't believe the kids. Why would you?
No. Bones' character model looked really familiar to me.
He's like Mick Jagger. He's so gross.
Is that what it is? Oh, maybe it's not Charles Manson.
Okay.
Marilyn Manson.
Yes, actually. Bones does very strongly resemble Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Chowder, when DJ calls him, Chowder picks up the phone and says, my dad is at work and my mom is out of the movies with her personal trainer. Just casually cheating.
Oh, God. It's so, like, she doesn't even give a shit. Elizabeth kicks Bones out, which is why he is wandering around seeing his kite. He's drunk, and he begins off screen because we focus on DJ at this point, I think. He goes back upstairs, but we hear the dialogue and Elizabeth kicks him out because he was not respecting her body autonomy. So I was like, good for Elizabeth for standing up for herself and not taking that shit. I
think he copped a boob and she was not having it because he tackles her to tickle her and then she yells at him to leave.
Yeah, no, he was definitely doing something she was not about. And she's like, you know what? GTFO.
I respect that. It's a good
I can
call.
Totally respect that. I'm here for this.
At this point in the film, I was sitting there going, oh, I wish Laika had made this.
Well, because it gave you some great Paranorman vibes.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, Dan Harmon was a writer on this movie.
Yes.
And with Selleck co-directing, this movie would have been a powerhouse. We also have Pamela Petler as a writer who wrote on 9 and Corpse Bride.
Oh.
So if we had maintained pretty much everything about this movie, but added in Henry Selick and possibly made it stop motion, we would have had a fucking, like, a classic. An absolute classic. I'm convinced that more people would know this movie if that was the change that was made.
Agreed.
But it wasn't. We still get a great movie. The kite, the red kite, is very, like, we mentioned before the Stephen King and the 80s. We get some It vibes coming off this kite, and they are fucking powerful. It's this bright red. It lures him into the house. It's super creepy.
The house is...
And it's great.
The house is fucking terrifying. The house knows what you want. It knows how to fuck with you, and it just wants to eat you because it's got no reason to do anything. It's awful.
Oh, yeah. This house will fuck you up.
While I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, oh man, this is basically the last kids movie that came out that had this specific focus of child adventure, no parents, no internet. And it made me very sad.
Yeah, it definitely had the 80s innocence vibe of Simpler Times, and it was supposed to take place in 83, and I could see it. It doesn't scream 80s to me, unless now looking back as an adult. Like, if I had seen this as a kid or when it came out, I wouldn't have gotten 80s from it. I would have just placed it, modern. But now, with everything taking place in the 80s, like, right off the bat, it was, oh, I know what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, the visuals really give it away. Speaking of 80s kids horror movie decisions, the house was initially supposed to have real organs. Like, just a whole tongue and gross mouth. Oh, God. Imagining that.
Yeah, buddy.
Jenny, as I said earlier in the podcast, Jenny is the best character by a country mile. When you look at DJ, whose personality is nervous, and Chowder, whose personality is dumb, Jenny has multiple facets, has jokes up her sleeve, is smart. It's impressive to see that one character is very interesting and the other two exist.
Yeah. She'll fuck up your whole life. Like, she is smart, painfully smart. And she does not fuck around.
I'm going to give this line of the film. She turns around to the guys when they're yelling at her and goes, "Are you mentally disabled? If so, I can teach you baseball." And then keeps going.
Yeah, she's, like, not having any of this shit. And, I think it's just the girls in this film, Because, like, Elizabeth is the same way. Because she's talking to DJ after he and Chowder are in the room and they're trying to convince her that the house is alive. And she says, "Okay, I'm sure whatever disease you guys have has letters and they make pills for it." And I was like, oh my God, that was definitely a Dan Harmon line. Like, it has to be a Harmon line.
Oh, for real.
And, like, for some reason, she doesn't see the house, right?
No, she always is conveniently turned or isn't looking at the house or is looking at DJ when it does something shady.
She definitely should have seen some of the shit, though.
100% she should have, but it was inconvenient for the film.
That's true. That's fair. I can understand that.
After seeing that this house is definitely fucking haunted, the boys and Jenny, let us not forget, go down to the local pizza place to find their video game champion adult friend, Reginald Skalinski, who is an expert on the supernatural. They learn from him that the house is a rare monster that is created when a human soul merges with a man-made structure and can only be killed by destroying its heart. Concluding that the heart must be the furnace, the trio create a dummy containing cold medicine stolen from Chowder's father's pharmacy. a definite felony. Before the dummy reaches the house, the cops return, thwart the kids' plan, and arrest them after one of the cops finds the stolen cold medicine inside the dummy. The house eats the 2 officers and the police car in which DJ, Chowder, and Jenny are locked in.
Yeah. So, Skull is Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, great. I'm glad that movie was popular when this came out.
And apparently his first day on set, what's his name? John Heder?
Yeah.
John Heder fucking broke his leg.
Wait, first
day on set.
He broke his leg at the recording studio. Oh my god. Yeah.
I don't know how. Honestly, I'm fucking impressed.
I can't believe that they had him in to mocap this character who moves for like 20 seconds.
Okay.
You can have an intern mocap Skull. It doesn't matter.
I am conflicted about this movie because some of the things I'm just like, yep, that could be motion capture. But a lot of it I look at and there's nothing about it that screams motion capture to me. So I don't know who they had on their team. I don't know what they did. But you could tell me that this was just hand animated and I would 100% believe you. Like, this is how motion capture should be done.
The house wasn't motion capture.
I'm fucking calling it. Everybody could suck a fucking dick.
Damn. All right. You heard it here first, folks. Animated opinions. You all can suck a dick. Moving on.
I mean, if you want to. Animated opinions in no way is saying that you are forced to perform oral sex.
Animated opinions. You do you. You do oral sex if you want to.
Yes, you only have to suck a dick if you want to. We will never force you to do that.
You do have to eat ass, though. Legally required.
I am cutting all of this, so it doesn't matter.
Fine. Be a lame-o. At any rate, the cops get eaten. The cops just get straight eaten.
And I was reading your notes kind of as I was watching it, and I was like, no, that can't happen, because that would definitely up the... Oh, never mind. The rating is going up. We've got a PG on our hands, guys.
When we were watching the cops investigate the grounds of the house, I realized that the textures on the objects are a lot better than the textures on the characters are. And I realized that if you crop this movie to 4:3, aka VHS size, and chuck an old school filter on it, put some tracking problems on it, do some color, some chromatic disparation, it would really eliminate all the visual problems and make this movie a lot more atmospheric.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, but it definitely would have made the movie age poorly in the world of digital streaming and HD that we live in. If we stuck with DVDs and didn't have 4K TVs, that would be an amazing solution. But, you can't just solve everything with a filter.
I don't think anyone predicted that within 15 to 20 years of the VHS going away, we would not only be nostalgic for it, but think of it as an artistic choice for an entire genre of visual looks. So,
yeah,
no judgment.
I also appreciate there's never any traffic on this street. The kids never look both ways. They never even look before crossing the street. And that actually comes into play later because, spoilers, DJ gets hit by an ambulance.
It's amazing. He gets smacked by this ambulance and is totally fine.
I mean, it wasn't going that fast, but, I just think it's funny that I was like, they never look when they cross the street, and then he gets fucking nailed.
Yeah.
So the cold meds in the dummy, right?
Yes.
One of the cops goes to see what this dummy is, walks the fuck up to it, downs a bottle of the cold medicine, and then goes back to the car to drive it with the children inside. And there's a line, he's got his, voiced by Nick Cannon, dude. There's a black cop, because we gotta have one. And he's just like, we are super cops. And Kevin James says, yeah, that's why I live in a condo. Kevin James just rips into his own life.
It's beautiful.
His character just tears himself down. He does it to himself.
He does a good job voicing this character.
But I have a problem. So the house falls asleep, right?
Yes.
But it leaves the dummy that's on the lawn alone.
Oh, no, the house falls asleep because it's nighttime.
The house
they get
needs
eaten.
sleep
Too.
Right, but it happens after it swallows everybody.
Yeah, I think the house just assumed everything was good because it ate everybody it needed to eat.
Okay,
No
I
more
couldn't tell if
kids,
it was
no more
that.
cops. Like, yeah,
So-
take a nap.
When the tree hauls in the cop car, after the tree hits the cop car, the dummy isn't on the lawn anymore. It's like somebody forgot to populate it in that scene when they were doing it.
That might be true.
And so I was like, did the house fall asleep because it ate the cop that does all the cold meds as drugs?
Maybe.
That was what I thought, because like right after it eats the cops and the car, it goes to sleep. But Jenny does say, I don't think it knows we're here. Or maybe
Yeah.
DJ does. It doesn't matter. Somebody says, I don't think it knows we're here. So they're inside now.
They're inside. The house falls asleep, a well-deserved rest after a big meal, and our trio begins exploring. In the basement, they find a collection of toys accumulated from Nebuchadnezzar's lawn, as well as a door that opens to a shrine containing the body of Nebuchadnezzar's late wife, Constance the Giantess, encased in cement. The house realizes they are inside and attacks them, to which DJ, Chowder, and Jenny force the house to vomit them outside by grabbing its uvula. Nebuchadnezzar then arrives to reveal that Constance's spirit is within the house and that he did not eat her, but instead had given her some of the happiest times in her short life. As a young man, he met Constance, then an unwilling member of a circus freak show, and fell in love with her despite her obesity. She's like maybe 300 pounds. She is like 6 feet. She's huge. She's
She's
tall.
morbidly obese.
She's
She's tall, but she is
too.
morbidly obese.
That's what I was saying. Like, this lady is maybe 6.5 feet tall. She's very big. At any rate.
She is large.
Yes. One Halloween, as children tormented her due to her size, they were throwing rocks at her. It was very cruel. Constance
was
tried
bad.
chasing them away, but lost her footing and fell to her death in the unfinished basement, forever sealed in cement. Nebuchadnezzar finished building the house, knowing that it's what she would have wanted, but aware that Constance's spirit made the house come alive, he pretended to hate children in order to keep them away from her.
Which is very noble of him.
Good guy.
Yeah, I don't know what he was planning on doing once he died, but actually, I think he planned on committing suicide at one point. Earlier on, Jenny had called her mom and said that she basically was like, you have an hour. Jenny, at this point, has definitely been out for more than an hour, and she's a high-maintenance chick. No offense to Jenny.
Oh, no, she is.
But, like, her mom would be like, what the fuck?
Jenny is gone all day until at least 8 p.m. in this movie. Her mom would have scoured the neighborhood. But I guess, here's the thing. The only 2 cops in the neighborhood, they make it a point to say, there's only Janet back down at the station. The only
Right.
2 cops that police this neighborhood have been eaten by a house. So who's going
Fair.
to look for your kid?
Well, Jenny is from a different neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
She makes a point in saying that because when she called, she was like, I was doing my rounds in like whatever neighborhood, and she kind of like walks out the door after that to finish talking to her mom. Like, she takes the phone and like leaves the room, and TJ and Chowder are like, what?
You have to talk to your mom?
Yeah, she's a good child. She does a good job.
When they're in the house, all the object textures are beautiful. They do a good job of rendering all the rust and all the different materials. It makes the models look so much worse.
Yeah. I think that comes from having a really kick-ass renderer. It just makes everything look fantastic and detailed, but it's 2006. So, I mean, you can't go like totally 100% all out. I mean, yeah, we definitely had the technology, but could you imagine this movie a decade later?
It's true. The house is so creepy as a mix of garbage and all of the garbage parts of the house becoming the organs of the house. It's terrible.
It's amazing.
It's disgusting.
Right. But like, imagine it. Imagine designing for this movie. Like, imagine rigging this house.
Imagine dying in cement.
like, before we got to that scene, so I was doing my notes without reading your comments, and I was like, died in cement. So I just saw that her body was there. Before we get any of that backstory about how he met Constance and how Constance died, we just see her entombed in cement. And my response was, maybe she didn't die there. It's the 80s and morbidly obese people didn't super exist. So if she died in the house, maybe the most practical thing was for this paranoid elderly man to entomb her in cement. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I would get it. And like, it sounds so awful because of how she died, like, in the movie.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, this paranoid dude's wife died, so he buried her in the house. It's just like, oh no, I had it very wrong.
That would work as well in the story, though.
It definitely would.
Poor Constance. She lives a life of misery. She gets brief respite before a grisly death, and then she's a house.
Yeah.
This girl can't even rest when she's dead. She has to be a house that needs to eat people for some reason. She doesn't just eat kids. She'll eat anybody. That's what I don't get.
Mm-hmm.
Nevercracker.
It's because people were so mean to her.
That's fair. The poor thing has basically a PTSD attack when the kids throw rocks at her. She's ready to go murder the crap out of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she was gonna kill a child.
Constance was ready to stab a child with whatever was handy, so I see why she had to be stopped.
Which, I mean, fair response. Just, yeah, what did he say? What did DJ say? Oh, yeah, so they leave the house. They go home after they escape. Jenny has definitely been gone for a long-ass time here. And DJ says, I'm going home. I suck. And then gets hit by the ambulance.
Respect.
Yeah.
That's a vibe.
It was pretty great. Yeah. So, yeah, this is where we get Steve Buscemi again. I don't know. I don't understand why I wrote that.
I don't know either.
I think I was referring to DJ when he was like, I'm going home, I suck. So I just wrote, be gone, thought, be gone, Steve Buscemi.
That's pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you.
I just really like the phrase, be gone, thought.
Oh, it's funny.
It's great. I don't use it frequently, but I think it sometimes. Just like in relation to stupid things. Like I'll put something down the garbage disposal and just before I run it, I'll just be like, be gone, thought. Because I'm sad and alone.
It's okay. I am too.
It happens. Speaking of being alone.
DJ tells Nevercracker it's time to let Constance go, but the house overhears this. Enraged, it turns into Mecha House, breaking free from its foundation and chasing the group to a construction site.
Woo!
Nevercracker attempts to distract the house so he can blow it up with dynamite, but the house notices and attacks him. Chowder fights the house off with an excavator while DJ is given the dynamite by Nevercracker. While Chowder distracts the house, DJ and Jenny climb to the top of a crane and DJ throws the dynamite into the house's chimney. That's wrong. Jenny throws it, causing it to explode and release Constance's ghost. Jenny does everything good in this movie.
No, they go back and forth, but I think in the very, very end it's DJ.
Oh, I thought Jenny was the one that sunk the dunk. Oh, well.
No, I definitely think it's DJ, but DJ and Jenny are kind of passing it back and forth as they climb to the top of this crane because they're because they're both in peril.
Well, DJ misses, and then Jenny is the one that has to throw it in. No, Jenny throws it to DJ.
Yeah, Jenny catches it, throws it to DJ, who is dangling from the crane, and then DJ sinks the shot.
There's a lot of throwing of dynamite. DJ...
Yeah, this dynamite definitely has a very long delay on exploding.
It does. DJ apologizes to Nevercracker for the loss of his home and his wife, but Nevercracker thanks the trio for freeing him and his wife from being trapped for 45 years.
Yeah, could you fucking imagine living in this haunted ass fucking house for 45 goddamn years?
Right, and you don't even know it can walk. This bitch gets up and starts walking, and you're like, great, I wish we could have done that and walked to Aruba, you bitch.
Fucking Howl's walking fucking absolute goddamn nightmare. Jesus Christ.
Ugh. The pacing on this movie is insanely tight. To think about the fact that we've made it through the 99% of the plot summary and didn't get lost or confused except for about who sunk the dynamite into the chimney.
Yeah,
Good.
who sunk the dynamite, and prior to that, how Constance died. But that was like the movie revealing just enough at just the right times. So good on you, movie. Yeah, I really need all animated films to be a tight hour 30, please, and fucking thank you.
The best part of this movie is when a DJ looks down and he sees a bunch of rebar sticking up. The film implying our main character could get impaled on rebar right now if he isn't careful, kids. Watch out for that.
You know, just every time I think about that, it's going to be in my fucking nightmares now.
Oh, it was terrifying. And then the film ends with a gigantic explosion, which is awesome, and the kids totally should have been flung and killed by it.
I just love, like, Nebbercracker's like, here, kiddo, have some dynamite. I'm about to go die. And I was like, what? I just have DJ, what the fuck, written down?
DJ was ready to blow this house up.
Yeah, there's Jenny and DJ also kiss, by the way. And DJ's like, I kissed a girl. And my immediate response was, yeah, but did you like it?
I hate you. I hate you so much.
Oh, I hate myself. You don't have to do that. I already do it for you. It's built in. Yeah, it was during, I think, this section with the walking house that what I really, really wanted was a Paranorman Box Trolls-esque, once again, like a Selicky movie. It definitely had those vibes. Don't get me wrong. This film is great. But as a stop motion horror, this would have been the be all and end all.
I'm going to take a 5-second detour here to ask you if you've seen the latest Laika trailer for their new movie, Missing Link? Something like that.
I have avoided watching it.
Do you want me to spoil it, or shall we move on?
We can move on, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Aye, aye, Captain. So, in the final section of the film, later that night, children in their Halloween costumes are lined up at the site of the exploded house, where Nebbercracker, DJ, Chowder, and Jenny help return toys to their owners. As Jenny's mother picks her up, assuming that her daughter hasn't died, and DJ's parents return, Chowder and DJ go trick-or-treating, which they previously felt they were too old for.
That's it?
It's a sweet ending. The best part of this entire film is that the whole thing about Chowder's basketball, he tries to get it a couple of times while they're in the house. The basketball is always taunting him. And when Chowder finally gets his basketball back, he throws it into the hoop on DJ's driveway. And it immediately gets stuck between the hoop and the backboard, which is just perfect.
It's amazing. Like, wedged so hard.
It's poetry because it's exactly what would happen to a kid like Chowder.
It's pretty fucking amazing.
That was the moment where I immediately wrote down, this is tied for number 1 of all time for me.
So, yeah, we talked about the production of this movie. We gave you the entire backstory that we could find on the director, Gil Keenan, and we are at 47:45.
So, would you like to give your ranking for this film?
I mean, oh man, I would put it after, oh god, I would say it's tied wherever I put Jack and the Cuckoo Clock Heart, which I think
3.
was number 2.
2 or 3?
Was it?
Yeah.
It was 2 or 3 because I definitely had Strange Magic as number 1. And like, no offense to Monster House, no offense to Gil Keen, no offense to Sony, no offense to Robert Zemeckis. This movie just isn't as pretty as Strange Magic, and that's just because it was 2006. There's nothing you can do about that.
That's the only reason this is tied for number 1 for me and is not my number 1 slot, is because Strange Magic is beautiful and thus holds number 1. Is tied for number 1 with this film. This film is better narratively, is more fun to watch.
Yes. But
yes,
it's not as pretty. The only real problem I had was to keep their PG rating. They had to have all the characters that got eaten come back at the end.
It's fine. It doesn't matter.
I was very upset. By the way, the dog's name is Kevin. Kevin the dog played himself.
Great. Good. I love Kevin.
Yeah. We would have a whole section where I just read my panicked comments about seeing everybody that I've worked with in the credits.
It's great. It is
shout out. I will shout out. I do not know this person, but my God, John Eric Cardon de Lichtboer.
That is a name. Wow.
Fucking what a goddamn name. That concludes the people Emily worked with but didn't name section, and the people I did work with will be seen only by Mel.
Ooh. My favorite section of this movie is finding out it had a licensed game. Hooray!
Oh, fuck yeah.
Mel's Game Corner, the best segment of the show that only shows up once every 10 or 12 episodes.
Because sometimes there's not a licensed game.
But every movie in the mid-2000s had a game, so here we are. Monster House is a genuinely good-looking game. I was shocked watching the Let's Play. Monster House looks like a third-person shooter that's styled after Resident Evil 1. You walk around the house, you kill monsters that are made up of household materials, you solve some puzzles, it looks like a good time. The Nintendo DS version of this game, the main console version, the Resident Evil 1, was published on GameCube and PlayStation 2. The DS version of this game is a bullet hell game that's only a little slow because it's intended for kids. That's fine. You don't need a really fast bullet hell game for children. But okay, great. That's awesome. And the Game Boy Advance one is a top-down shooter with RPG elements. It kind of looks like Earthbound, but worse. What are these good licensed games? Is it because the movie was good, so they didn't want to make a platformer? What?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I only owned a Nintendo 64.
Watching the Let's Play of this movie game made me want to play it because I want to see how good it is or if it feels like shit when I pick it up.
I think that's what I'm going to do after this. Like, I'm going to see if I can find a couple Let's Plays for it.
It's worth your time. The game itself looks relatively boring because it's a lot of you're walking around the house and shooting stuff. Mm-hmm. But
yeah.
It looks like it's significantly higher quality than anything else I've discussed on this podcast as far as licensed games go.
Including the Space Chimps game?
The Space Chimps game was a nightmare. I watched an hour of the Space Chimps game to see if it got good. Spoiler alert, it did not get good.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Meanwhile, I watched 30 minutes of 3 separate games and felt significantly better about them.
That's fair. I could understand that. Yeah, so I think to conclude, and I don't know what your experience, I have to readjust on my chair before I start this. I don't know what your experience was with this movie, but this kind of came out for me in a time in my life when I wasn't watching movies at all, let alone animated movies. So it slipped through the cracks. And when it came out, and still to this day, all I remember is just people kind of shitting on it. And like nobody really cares about Monster House. And I've concluded that the people that hate it have never seen it. So it's like Strange Magic. It's the Strange Magic of a decade prior.
I was in that category, but for a very special reason. The summer this came out, I got pneumonia really bad and had to stay inside my house for a straight month of the summer, which sucked. So my mom bought me a bunch of books, and within the book pile was the novelization of Monster House, which was poorly written to the point where I was like, forget this movie, I'm never going to see it. This book sucked.
Wow.
The book was really bad, and I'm saying that as someone who was 12 or 13 when I read it, so it was supposed to be aimed at me, and it was awful.
I am so sorry that this happened to you as a child.
I don't remember the book very well. I remember the cover of it, and I remember getting angry at it. So
yeah, I don't remember seeing any of the movies that we talk about on this, but like there was a poster, somebody at my school must have worked on it, like somebody prior to me even getting there, because they had, sorry, there's a police helicopter above, prior to me getting there, because they have a poster on the wall. Therefore, someone worked on it and sent in the poster. And every time we'd pass it, we would just be like, ugh, Monster House. And honestly, I really think it's the mocap thing.
Yeah. Like,
people are just like, oh, it's a mocap film, or, oh, Robert Zemeckis. And they just totally discredit it. But what they also have to remember is it also has Spielberg attached to it. No offense, Robert Zemeckis. But, like, it has Spielberg attached to it, and you're getting those sweet, sweet like Spielberg 80s movie vibes. But
Yeah.
I also think it suffers from the fact that it was doing the 80s a decade before the 80s were popular again.
That's fair.
Like Guardians of the Galaxy, fucking Stranger Things, It remake. Like, if this came out now, it would be popular.
Fair. I respect that, and I think it's true.
Yeah, it's one of those, I think. And it's unfortunate. So I would highly recommend watching Monster House. I watched it on Amazon. It had ads, though.
I definitely watched it on Google Play Movies for like $3. It was well worth the money and my time.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, it just came with my Amazon subscription, so
High
might as well.
recommend.
Yeah,
And
even with the ads, it was super worth it.
speaking of ads, before you all go, please be sure to check out our new sponsor, Haunter. Haunter is a disruptor in the ghost detection world, providing you with a stranger coming to your house and checking your house for ghosts with our specialized EKG equipment. These randos are equipped with only the finest in tinfoil hats and detecting materials. They come through your house, they wave some wands over your stuff, they put a black light on everything to see if it's disgusting. Pro tip it is, you should clean your house more.
Please.
And then they tell you how haunted you are. You're probably very haunted because what they offer afterwards is a ghost extraction specialty pack. That costs $350, involves 3 days of you not being in your house and not knowing what's going on inside your house with minor text message updates. But then when you come back, your house is assuredly ghost free. Haunter, a disruptor in the ghost detection app world. There's so many ghost detection apps, but you should choose Haunter. Be sure to enter our discount code, Is My House a Monster Animated Opinions Podcast 12, in order to get no % off, but you will receive a free sticker for the app. I don't know why they made us enter in this entirely too long promo code for a terrible, terrible discount, but Haunter, they're great. They won't steal your stuff. We promise.
They're gonna steal your stuff.
Oh, assuredly, but you can't tell the people that.